Thank you for joining us for the Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime webinar. The Ohio Chapter, American Academy of Pediatrics, operates this program with the financial support of the Ohio Department of Health. The Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program, also known as PMP, has continued to evolve over the past several years to offer the best possible resources to you and the families you serve. Today we are excited to share more information on the programs in Ohio. Today you will hear from Drs. Sarah Adams and Divya Dindaluri. Dr. Adams is a pediatrician from Hudson, Ohio, and a PMP medical director. Dr. Dindaluri is a pediatric dietitian and lactation consultant from Dayton Children's Hospital. The topic for today's discussion is interdisciplinary training, parenting at mealtime and playtime. The Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program is here to assist you in your discussions with families. We aim to provide tools that will make your interactions more meaningful in the limited time you have with them and contribute to positive, healthful behavior change. In order to access our resources, we recommend you visit our Ohio AAP website. This is the easiest way to access PMP materials. This is available for all public health professionals at no cost, and no login is required. When you visit the website, www.ohioaap.org/PMP resources, and click the box that best suits your role. If you are a community health worker that works with the care coordination system, you will find our handouts within CCS as well. The speaker has no financial relationships to disclose, and no off-label products will be discussed. Our mobile app has other resources that may be helpful for you or your clients. This mobile app is free for download in the App Store or on Google Play. When searching for the app, search for Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime, rather than PMP, to be sure to find the correct mobile app.
Welcome, and we're going to discuss balancing food groups based on the My Plate guidelines. We're going to discuss ways to increase water intake and talk about strategies for picky eaters, discuss considerations for vegetarians and vegans, and utilize the Ohio AAP resources for families, and understanding the importance of responsive feeding and actually how to use these resources on a day-to-day basis. So why is this important to you? Well, families are asking questions from the moment they walk in, when they check in at the front desk, when they're being brought back by the medical assistants, and even after you've left the office visit when they're checking out. And having this awareness and information for the families as they go through the process of their office visit is so helpful. You also can provide resources about mealtime and playtime, and that can be provided either before or even after the visit. We really want you to be aware of the importance of educating parents about the parenting at mealtime and playtime, and awareness of the social determinants of health and body image during the whole visit. Like I said, from the moment they walk in to the moment they walk out. Because ultimately, we want to promote a healthy lifestyle, mentally and physically, and that takes the entire staff. I'm going to present some cases so that you can understand how to utilize this information and have real-life strategies when you're talking to families. So a parent comes in and she's concerned, mealtime is so stressful. What can I do? What I want to start with is the importance of feeding behaviors. There's such a rise in childhood obesity and the risk of being overweight or obese as an adult. So we want to provide some important messages and strategies to give caregivers to improve dietary, weight, and overall healthy outcomes in children. So feeding guidelines on what and how to feed your infant and toddlers in the context of their growing childhood and in the context of being a responsive parent. So responsive parenting, as it relates to feeding, soothing, sleep, and physical activity, is interrelated. If a parent responds to hunger and satiety cues instead of using food to soothe, then this will help the child sleep better and become more active when they're awake, and also help self-regulate their appetite. I love saying in my practice this phrase, you provide and they decide. So what is it about the feeding behaviors that we need to know? Well, development, temperament, and personal experiences, as well as medical needs, have to all be taken into consideration, as well as their environment, the family dynamics, ethnic dietary practices, but also food accessibility. We can tell them this is what you need to do, but unless it really comes into the context of what is real life for these families, we have to be aware of those differences. Feeding jags. I always thought the word jags was so funny, but basically what that means is that it's normal for kids as they get older, especially from toddlerhood and up, to have moments where they just don't eat as much. It's important that we offer new foods several times. And this is a concept that becomes difficult because we have to be persistent as well as patient as caregivers. I mentioned being more aware of the feeding environment, and that is so important. Like, talk to them and say, tell me about what it is. What's your table like? Make sure that parents are sitting with the family. Don't expect long meal times, but maybe around 15 to 20 minutes. And explain to parents the importance of modeling healthy eating behaviors as well as choices. And as they get older into school age, then you can incorporate the kids into meal planning, prep, chores like setting the table or even doing the dishes. Ask them about food choices. Set those positive influences at home so that when they go away from home, it affects their food choices then as well. I want to go over some key steps about these principles of responsive feeding. So, a child displays hunger. The caregiver properly interprets hunger signals. Predictable feeding responses from the caregiver, depending on how they're eating. The child displays satiety signals. And you get a predictable stop feeding response from the caregiver. The outcome of this responsive feeding is that the children develop healthy eating habits. They know when they're hungry, they know when they're full, it provides a stronger bond, and they learn that mealtime can be fun instead of a struggle. The key principles are to be pleasant, to be warm, and setting that nurturing environment. Make sure the child and the caregiver are seated comfortably across from each other or near each other. Have clear and consistent reciprocal communication about feeding expectations. Have predictable feeding schedules so that the child is hungry when the food is actually offered. The offering of healthy, developmentally appropriate beverages and healthy, tasty foods is so important. We wouldn't expect a child to eat something that is not really tasty. You wouldn't eat it either. And responding promptly to the child's hunger and satiety cues so that you're not pushing for that 2-bite tango, 2 more bites, 2 more bites. They learn that when I'm full, it's okay to stop eating. Feeding response needs to be emotionally supportive, contingent, and developmentally appropriate. I just can't say that enough. Now, as they become older, they're toddlers, preschool, school age, we all know that there are some additional challenges. Some key issues for those toddlers and preschoolers is now they're transitioning to a cup and utensils and feeding themselves. Their fluctuation of appetite can be frustrating. They're not getting enough iron and zinc, and we really want to avoid that overconsumption of juice and sweetened beverages. And developing routines for healthy eating and activity is so important. I had a family the other day, and the child gets soda pop when he's with dad with dinner every day, but not at the mom's house. So I had to, in a very sensitive way, discuss the importance of what I call some of the time foods and then all the time foods. And we had a talk that soda is really just a some of the time food and not an everyday, all the time food. So even using strategies and language so that the child can understand is just as important. Now, as they get older, we do see an inadequate intake of fruits, vegetables, calcium because their milk, and vitamin D as well because milk intake becomes lower, and fiber. They tend to avoid those energy, nutrient, dense snacks and go for poor snacks such as salty snacks, cookies, and sweetened beverages. And ultimately, it leads to an overconsumption of sugar. And then a consequence of that is the development of a poor body image. So we want to stress the importance of nourishing our body so that we feel good on the inside as well as out. Now, we all know that energy and nutritional requirements for children vary. Depends on their age, their sex, and their activity level. Choose My Plate is a wonderful interactive website that provides individual dietary guidance. It goes through those macronutrients we always hear about: protein, fats, carbohydrates. Added sugars should be avoided, and encouraging a well-balanced diet that has a variety of nutritious, developmentally appropriate foods and at the recommended number of servings. I am very honored to have with me today in this discussion our nutritionist, Divya, who's going to give some amazing ideas about what families can do to even just understand the importance of portions. Nutrient-dense foods from basic food groups should be offered every day. Remember that you provide, they decide? Case number 2. Parents ask during a visit, I can never get my child to eat fruits or vegetables. Do you have any tips? Or how do I get them to eat more of a variety instead of the same food all the time? I remember my son Gabe, pretty much the only vegetable I could get him to eat was baby carrots, and the only fruit was cantaloupe. So let's talk about some strategies on how we can encourage them to eat more of a variety. What child doesn't love to be hands-on? Gardening, cooking. I suggest now that springtime is coming, maybe consider starting a garden, growing your own vegetables. If they get to see how it's grown and the work that's put into it and the beautiful colors that come from these fruits and vegetables, you might notice that they are more likely to try it or at least taste it. Ask the kids to help with selection and prep. Maybe sit down at the beginning of every week and make a grocery list together. Make it fun. Cut it into shapes. Kids love to dip, especially toddlers and preschoolers. And variety and color, just eat the rainbow, as I say, and talk about it that way too. Who doesn't love rainbows, especially those younger age kids? And so putting it into context in that way can make it really fun. And be a role model. If you're not eating the green beans at the dinner table, chances are they're not going to eat it too. Make these things accessible. I found in my home that I would have all the fruits and vegetables available, but make them accessible in ways that kids can grab and go. Like make little snack packs of baby carrots, or cut up the cantaloupe, or cut up the cucumbers. Wash the grapes and have them in little bunches. You get what I'm saying. As they get into school age, they're less likely to go into the refrigerator and choose those items versus grabbing what's easy, like a set of crackers. Add them to sandwiches, to pasta, to chili, soups, casseroles, pizza. You get the idea. And remember that you can puree some things and sneak it in there, such as pureeing spinach and pureeing kale. Just remember, don't put in too much of the spinach or kale because it'll make that smoothie look green and may not be as appetizing to a young child. Add things to cereal or on top of pancakes or in pancakes, and provide them as snacks, as I mentioned, but you got to make them readily available. Chances are they may not go into the fridge, like I mentioned, and grab an apple, but if you cut up the apple and have it on a plate, maybe with some peanut butter nearby, they might be more likely to eat it. And repeated exposure, so important. It can sometimes take up to 30 times, and you need to give families that message. And also talk about what it does for the body. Just understanding that it's good for them and how it makes them feel good and healthy and strong is so important as well. Case number 3. Now that my child is 2 years old, how much milk should he be drinking, and what other beverages can I offer them? Children older than 2 years of age should start consuming fat-free, such as skim, or low-fat cow's milk, such as 1% or 2%, and calcium and vitamin D fortified cow's milk products, such as yogurt and cheese. As they get older, really all they need is about 2 to 3 cups or 2 to 3 servings a day, or foods rich in calcium to meet their daily calcium requirements. Now, I don't say to parents you need to have 700 milligrams a day for children 1 to 3 and 1,000 a day for children 4 to 8, for them to remember those numbers as well as start adding up how much calcium they're consuming during the day, but sometimes giving those numbers as a way of a reference so that they understand. Yogurt, well, that can be a substitute for cow's milk as well, but make sure that caregivers are reviewing the nutritional label and that it contains the equivalent amount of calcium and vitamin D and not too much added sugar. What about plant-based milks? It's become more popular. We really don't recommend it for children under the age of 5 unless they have a cow's milk allergy or intolerance. Examples include soy, almond, rice, coconut, and hemp milks, as well as oat milk. Newer alternatives are also quinoa, oat, potato, and mixed grain milks. The most important message here is to read labels and choose the nutrient profile that is most similar to cow's milk and is usually fortified with calcium and vitamin D. Others that are lower in protein, calcium, vitamin D, and calories, and certain vitamins, minerals, and fats should be avoided. Children may require a multivitamin or vitamin D supplementation, considering consulting a nutritionist if allergy or other personal as well as ethical concerns arise. Let's talk about juice. We really want to discourage juice at any age. We know that juices reduce the appetite for nutritional fluids, solids. It can cause diaper rash, diarrhea, weight gain, as well as tooth decay. To stay well hydrated, children 1 to 3 should drink about 4 cups of a beverage a day, including milk and water. This increases as they get older to 5 cups for 4 to 8 and 7 to 8 cups for older children. I like to use this little way to remember. They should consume about 8 ounces of water equal to their age, with a maximum of 64 ounces of water for children over the age of 8. Now, this amount does not include other beverages that they may consume in a day, such as milk and juice. So what I mean by that is if they are 1, they can have 8 ounces of water. If they're 2, 16, and so on. And absolutely no soft drinks and sweetened beverages. We really want to discourage this consumption because it's a major source of sugar in the diet and a major contributor to developing obesity and lowering that intake of key nutrients. It was so cute. I mentioned that young boy that I was talking about who drank soda several times a week. And he said, well, okay, well then what I'll do is I'll switch to caffeine-free and sugar-free. And I said, we're going to just talk about what some other options that you may like and how to flavor water. We're going to talk about that in our discussion today as well. And no caffeinated beverages. It is not recommended. And there is little information on the short or long-term effects. And that goes for artificial sweeteners as well. Case number 4. A caretaker is in the office and feels discouraged because all his child wants to do is watch YouTube or play video games all day. How can we help? I'm sure you've heard this one before. Well, I like to talk about play as serious business. Playtime and physical activity is so important, but we have to consider the developmental stage that the child is in, the family schedule, the preference for activity, what they like to do, and that physical activity can be structured or less structured. We want to teach them that playtime has a purpose. So playing with purpose, what does that actually mean? We'll use the 5 senses at play. Use toys that they can explore with their hands. Textures, sizes, shapes, sounds, lights. Talk and sing with the child. Play games as they get older. Run, climb, kick, throw, jump, balance. Stack blocks, cups, color, paint, pull strings, push toys, and printing letters, drawing, card games, and puzzles. It seems so difficult in this busy lifestyle that families have, but yet we can make it simple for them. And play is good for all of us. It builds strength, muscles, and coordination, burns calories, but it also lowers anxiety and stress, raises self-esteem. And play requires social skills and improves attention and behavior. Many times in my practice, parents will ask, what can I do for my child to help them with their attention and concentration outside of medication? Well, a healthy, nutritious diet and activity improves those behaviors in such a wonderful way. How can we teach our adults to help children? Well, when they're 1, tell them talk, read, listen. That back and forth conversation, even if they're not saying words, is so important. Laugh and respond. As they get older, they can start to pretend play. And as they become 3, encourage those different motor skills. What are the benefits of physical activity and play? Well, we know that it improves cardiovascular fitness. We know, like I said, that it builds strong bones and muscles. They develop those fine and large motor skills. But it also helps control that weight. It helps control that blood sugar, not just in their body, but also in their cravings. It reduces stress and symptoms of anxiety. We know that when we're anxious, we engage the sympathetic system. And to engage the parasympathetic system, to calm, sometimes just taking a little walk can be helpful. It improves sleep, and it reduces the risk of health conditions as obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, even cancer and osteoporosis. Children learn to balance, coordinate, and become more flexible. It boosts their self-confidence. And as I said, it improves their attention, that concentration, memory, and even academic performance. And it directly relates to strengthening that immune system. In my practice, I like to talk about ways to boost their immune system, and this is a fun way to do it. There is such a thing called physical literacy, and what does that mean? Well, it's defined as the ability, confidence, and desire to be physically active for life. Ability includes the competence in fundamental movement skills, and these emerge as they start to gain gross motor skills in infancy and early childhood and progress as they get older, and are even honored more as they become adolescents. Play-based fitness means entertaining, active play strategically structured to include age-appropriate movement and activities, and promotes optimal physical and mental health, as well as a lifelong love for being active. So what I'm trying to say is connect that physical activity to health and happiness. We want to promote 60 minutes of physical activity a day or more, and that can include play-based fitness. We all know, living in Ohio and the surrounding states, that it can be challenging to get active inside, but we want to encourage families to address these things: stress, screens, sleep, structure, and schedules. To help manage stress, we want to empower parents to use the PMP trackers that we have available for screen time, sleep, as well as scheduling physical activity. We want to take this all in the context of social determinants. Social determinants of health are the conditions in the environments where people are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age. And this affects a wide range of health, functioning, and quality of life outcomes and risk. Social determinants of health have such a major impact on people's health and well-being as well as quality of life. It contributes to the wide health disparities and inequities. Access to nutritious food and physical activity opportunities vary. People who don't have access to grocery stores with healthy foods are less likely to have good nutrition and lower availability of fresh produce, and fewer recreational opportunities, as well as more fast food outlets, leads to suboptimal nutrition and less physical activity. And then that raises their risks for heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. So how do we increase access to health? Nutrition and exercise counseling is important, but we also want to look at urban development, creating parks, bicycle paths, community gardens, and even mobile markets. Other ways to help can be asking patients about their social challenges in a sensitive and caring way. Provide nutrition and exercise counseling in the context of their environment. Refer patients and help them gain access so that they can have that support service. Improve access and quality of care for hard-to-reach parent groups, and use clinical experience and research as evidence to advocate for these social changes. When we feel good on the inside, we feel good on the outside. Body positivity refers to the assertion that all people deserve to have a positive body image, regardless of how society and pop culture views their ideal shape, size, and appearance. Goals of body positivity movement include things like challenging how society views the body, promoting the acceptance of all body, and helping children build confidence and acceptance of their own self, as well as addressing unrealistic body standards. We want to teach children to appreciate their body in spite of flaws and feel confident and love themselves, accept their own shape and their own size. Try not to focus on appearance. A 10-year-old female in my practice asked the question, why can my friends eat junk and not gain weight, but if I eat it, I do? Emphasize exercise and healthy eating over the weight. Discuss the benefits of physical activity and focus on how the body feels when we nourish our body and eat healthy. Less focus on that number on the scale. Talk about the positive things they can do to help their body and set realistic goals to get them to buy in. I also recommend to families to scan toys and talk about gender and body stereotypes in ads and media. We know that if they're watching YouTube, for example, there are ads, and we want to be very aware of the media that they are watching. We all know that the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommendations for screen time because excess screen time is associated with depression, anxiety, inattention, poor sleep, and physical inactivity among children. Childhood obesity increased during the first year and a half of the COVID-19 pandemic, a study found, and this was due to less physical activity and increased screen time. In addition, media and social pressures show unattainable body ideals. I want to encourage you to use the parenting and mealtime trackers when it does come to screen time. The American Academy of Pediatrics has additional recommendations for screen time, as well as contracts that you can use for media for your family. Well, thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to talk about something so important for our families. And I'm excited to introduce Divya, who is going to talk about additional nutrition topics from a nutritionist perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Good afternoon. I'm Divya Dendaluri, a pediatric dietitian and lactation consultant at Dayton Children's Hospital. I'm really excited to have this time to share with you today some frequently asked nutrition questions and the answers to those questions. Case 1. A parent asks, how do we plan nutritionally adequate meals for our 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter? A healthy eating routine is important at every stage of life and can have positive effects that add up over time. The My Plate guidelines encourage making half the plate fruits and vegetables, a quarter of the plate lean protein, and a quarter a whole grain. The My Plate can be used as a guide to plan meals and snacks. Some key suggestions include focusing on whole fruits instead of juice, varying vegetables and including a variety of proteins such as chicken, turkey, fish, eggs, beans, and nuts, including more whole grains, including low-fat or fat-free or plant-based milk and yogurt. And lastly, choosing from at least 3 food groups for meals and 2 food groups for snacks. The My Plate Plan app shows food group targets based on age, gender, weight, height, and physical activity. This table also shows how portion sizes increase with age, which is included here as a reference. Another method of determining appropriate portions is the hand method. The palm of a child's hand may be used to determine protein portions such as meat, fish, and beans. A child's closed fist may be used to determine portions of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains such as pasta and brown rice. Portion sizes also increase with growth and a correlated increase in hand size to accommodate nutritional needs. If a child is still hungry, I always encourage families to offer more from each food group. Remember to let the child determine when they are full so they learn their own hunger cues. Small changes can have a big impact. I encourage families to think of ways to balance the plate. For example, if there's fried chicken and mac and cheese for dinner, could we add a favorite fruit or vegetable and perhaps try switching the mac and cheese with some whole grain pasta in a tomato sauce? Perhaps add a fruit and a vegetable to the snack platter. This may organically bring about a decrease in portion sizes of some of the food groups to accommodate the additional food groups while also boosting the nutrient density of meals and snacks. Case 2. My 7-year-old daughter is a picky eater, drinks juice but no milk or water. How can I ensure good nutrition? Our 7-year-old in the case study is a picky eater, but if a family is seeking alternatives to cow's milk, I would like to understand the reasons why. Whether there is a history of lactose intolerance, a milk protein allergy, maybe the child doesn't like milk but likes the creamy taste, a vegan lifestyle, concerns about inflammation, Crohn's and colitis or inflammatory bowel syndrome, concerns over antibiotics, pesticides, or hormones, or ethical concerns. If a child refuses to drink milk but enjoys eating yogurt and cheese, those would be good sources of calcium and vitamin D. Soy milk and pea protein milk are nutritionally dense options. They're good sources of protein, calcium, and vitamin D. If a child is drinking goat's milk, which is lower in vitamin B12 and folate in comparison to cow's milk, I would ask about the overall diet to know if other food sources of the deficient nutrients are regularly incorporated in meals and snacks, and will discuss additional foods rich in these nutrients that can be offered. Since our 7-year-old is not drinking water, we could try to make water more appealing to her. We could try to infuse flavor by adding apple slices, berries, melons, oranges, or lemon slices, cucumber slices, mint, or basil. We could offer water in a different cup or bottle with a fancy straw, perhaps. We could offer water at different temperatures, trying it warm, cool, or cold. Adding ice cubes in different shapes or frozen with berries or herbs can make the water more interesting. Choosing water as a preferred beverage when eating out is a great choice. I also discuss how repeated exposure can help with acceptance. It is important to understand the responsibility of the parent or caregiver when it comes to food and eating. It is the caregiver's responsibility to choose and prepare the food, to provide regular meals and snacks, to make eating times pleasant, to demonstrate expected behavior at family meal times, to be considerate of a child's lack of food experience without catering to likes and dislikes, to not let your child have food or beverages except for water between meals and snacks, to let your child grow into the body that is right for him or her, and to trust your child to eat the amount needed, to learn to eat the food that you enjoy, to grow predictably in the way that is right for him or her, and to learn to behave well at meal times. Eating involves using all our senses. Foods, including fruits and vegetables, undergo texture and flavor changes when we prepare them differently. For example, a child may enjoy steamed broccoli with some cheese sprinkled on it and may have a different experience trying raw or baked broccoli seasoned with herbs or spices. Involving kids in picking out and preparing fruits and vegetables can help them get more interested in trying them. Make it fun. Use the 5 senses, touch and play with the foods. Using cookie cutters and fun containers to make heart-shaped pancakes, mashed potato snowmen, and fruit and yogurt parfaits can be a fun project. Offer foods that are new or previously unaccepted by the child. Frequent and consistent exposure to foods can increase intake of those foods. Food chaining enables your child to try new foods that are similar to foods they currently enjoy and eat consistently. Food chaining emphasizes the relationship between foods in regard to taste, temperature, and texture. For example, if a child's favorite food is orange juice and a parent wants to introduce some milk, a parent can start off by introducing a smoothie made with ice, orange juice, and some strawberry sherbet, and slowly go on to introducing the same smoothie with some milk in it. And then maybe perhaps offer a smoothie with some milk and strawberry syrup and some strawberries, and then try to offer some milk with a little bit of strawberry syrup, and then go on to give plain milk. Typically, it takes a while for the taste buds to get used to a specific taste. Small changes over time may be impactful. Caregivers may try offering a new food alongside with an existing food and gradually increase the amount of the new food the child is offered. It is a good idea to continue offering old foods and new foods regularly to ensure they remain in the child's diet. It may take a child 20 to 30 exposures of a new food to accept it into the diet. Keep going and try and keep meal times relaxed and stress-free. We talked a little bit about how eating involves all our senses and involving children in picking out and preparing vegetables and fruits and other foods. It's wonderful to see how young children start with close supervision in the kitchen and how they're able to handle more complex tasks involving fine motor skills as they grow, and then to more independent preteens needing minimal supervision in the kitchen. I like to stress on some safety guidelines to teach children when helping in the kitchen, it is necessary to wash hands, surfaces, and kitchen utensils. It's also important to keep raw meat, poultry, and seafood separate from cooked and ready-to-eat foods. Cooking to proper temperatures and refrigerating leftovers promptly to 40 degrees or lower is very important as well. The next few slides serve as a resource of examples of the kitchen activities that children of different age groups can be involved in. 3 to 5-year-olds can help with washing fruits and vegetables in the sink with cool tap water. They can help with wiping tabletops, mixing ingredients like easy-to-mix batters, brush cooking oil with a clean pastry or basting brush on bread, asparagus, and other foods, cut cookies with fun-shaped cookie cutters, with a quick reminder not to eat the raw dough. Kitchen activities to support fine motor skills for 6 to 7-year-olds include using a peeler to peel washed fruits and vegetables, breaking eggs into a bowl, scooping out avocados after slicing them into half, which should be done by an adult, de-seeding tomatoes and cooled roasted peppers with a spoon, snapping green beans, loading the dishwasher, shucking corn and rinsing before cooking, and rinsing and cutting parsley or green onions with a clean, blunt kitchen scissors, and juicing a lemon or orange. More involved activities for 8 to 9-year-olds include opening cans with a can opener, putting leftovers in shallow containers and refrigerating within 1 to 2 hours of preparation, pounding chicken on a cutting board, beating eggs, and checking the temperature of meat with a food thermometer. More independent activities for 10 to 12-year-olds with minimal supervision include boiling pasta, microwaving foods, following a recipe including reading each step in the order, and measuring ingredients accurately, baking foods in the oven, simmering ingredients on the stove, and slicing or chopping vegetables. Let's delve a little into picky eating and the benefits of family-centered meal times, which gives parents an opportunity to be role models. Family meals are more nutritious. Studies show that families who eat together are twice as likely to eat their 5 servings of fruits and vegetables as compared to families who don't eat together. Kids who eat family meals tend to eat a wider variety of foods and become less picky eaters. Family meals provide an opportunity for family members to come together, strengthen ties, and build better relationships. They build a sense of belonging, which leads to better self-esteem. Family meals offer parents a chance to be role models. They can set an example of healthy eating and polite table manners. Family meals help prevent obesity. Research shows that people tend to eat less during family meals because they eat more slowly and talk more. Research shows that kids who eat family meals have a lower chance of engaging in high-risk behaviors such as substance use and violence and may have fewer psychological problems. We want to make family meal times a pleasant experience. Some ways to do this include offering small portions of what the rest of the family eats for meals, allowing kids to choose what to eat and how much, establishing family mealtime rules and expectations, which could include staying seated for 15 minutes, keeping the food on the plate, and everyone helps with cleanup. Some other strategies include enjoying family discussions and making mealtimes a positive experience, offering choices, and praising good behavior. Mealtime without screen time can be a different experience. This may allow for children to use their 5 senses to enjoy foods, making them mindful of the flavors and textures of foods and also of their hunger and fullness cues. To begin with, sit at the table without electronics. Spend 15 to 30 minutes eating. Set your fork down between bites. Chew each bite at least 10 times. Savor your bites. Can you describe the flavors, the textures? Is the food crunchy? Is it salty, sweet? Paying attention to all of this can help us be more mindful of our eating practice and also help us enjoy the foods that we eat. Case 3. Question. My child is a vegetarian. How do I go about planning meals? Well-planned vegetarian and vegan meals and snacks are nutritionally well balanced. There are some nutrients that we want to make sure are included, such as vitamin B12, which is found in dairy products, eggs, and vitamin-fortified products such as cereals, breads, milk alternatives, and nutritional yeast. Vitamin D, which is found in milk, vitamin D fortified orange juice, and other vitamin D fortified products. Calcium, which is found in dairy products, dark green leafy vegetables, broccoli, beans, and calcium fortified products such as orange juice and cereals. Protein, which is found in dairy products, eggs, tofu, beans, and nuts. Iron, which is found in eggs, beans, dried fruits, whole grains, green leafy vegetables, fortified cereals, and bread. Zinc, which is found in chicken, red meat, nuts, beans, whole grains, fortified cereals, and dairy products. Thank you for joining us during this webinar today. I hope this information helps you provide nutrition guidance for your current and future patients.
We sincerely appreciate you spending your time with the Ohio AAP to learn more about these important topics impacting children's nutrition and play. You can access the Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime resources on our Ohio AAP website. Thank you to our presenters for all they do for the Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program and for Ohio's children. If you have any questions for Ohio AAP, please don't hesitate to call us at 614-846-6258. A big thank you to you for your ongoing efforts to assist Ohio's families.